Space Coast TPO Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan December 2000 Space Coast TPO Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan December 2013. Acknowledgements. The preparation of this report has been financed in part through grant. GulfCoastTrails.org. Table of Contents. Executive Summary. A free download is available at http://get.adobe.com/reader. Several maps and tables in the plan extend across 2 pages. To view the Executive Summary Overview. The Space Coast Bicycle and Pedestrian Transportation offers an economical and healthy way for people of all ages and abilities to access their destinations, enjoy Brevard County's outstanding natural resources, and connect with friends, family, and neighbors. As Brevard County's population surges from more than 540,000 today to a projected 770,000 by 2040, there is a growing need to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of all transportation options to meet the needs of this diverse and dynamic region. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan establishes a planning framework and set of project priorities and program strategies to guide the Space Coast TPO and its partners toward development of a true multimodal transportation network that complements local land use and economic development plans, and provides greater accessibility for regional and local transportation networks serving the community. The plan is intended to complement the TPO's Complete Streets project, which is developing a policy and strategy to ensure Brevard County's roadways better accommodate the needs of people of all ages and abilities. Both of these efforts feed into the 2040 update of the Space Coast Long Range Transportation Plan, which serves as the guiding document for the TPO's transportation needs and financially feasible mobility projects. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan serves as a unified master plan that synthesizes prior plans, regional projects, and local plans into a comprehensive and strategic document to guide development of short and long-term projects to address gaps and deficiencies in bicycle and pedestrian mobility in ways that support broad community goals. The plan establishes goals and objectives around the 5 E's of bicycle and pedestrian planning: engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, and equity, with the 6th E addressing outcome-based evaluation indicators that support the defined goals and objectives. This plan is intended to guide the TPO and its partners in their decision-making process regarding non-motorized transportation project priorities and development and implementation of programs that support greater mobility for cyclists and pedestrians of all ages and skill levels. The plan was developed with guidance from the TPO's Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Trails Advisory Committee, DAC, and a steering committee comprised of the DAC and invited participants from the county's municipalities. As a county-wide plan developed by the TPO, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan focuses on creating a county-wide network in which regionally significant projects provide connectivity and accessibility to Brevard County's abundant natural resources, parks, economic centers, and intermodal hubs such as existing Space Coast area transit transfer points and the planned Florida East Coast Railway station areas. The plan therefore emphasizes the following regional connections: public access to beaches and bridge crossings, Florida East Coast Greenway, Coast-to-Coast Connector Trail, St. John's River to Sea Loop Trail, St. John's River Eco-Heritage Trail, Brevard County's Showcase Trails Network. The plan provides a regional framework for improved bicycle and pedestrian access and mobility by focusing its priorities on connecting regional assets and regionally significant corridors. Local bicycle and pedestrian connections made by each of the county's local governments will help to provide the feeder networks linking to the regional system. The plan prioritizes regional recreation connections, such as the Al Tuttle Trail. The pilot project across the Pineda Causeway is an example of a priority connection and a bridge crossing that encourages public beach access. The mobility plan aligns with the goals of the TPO's Complete Streets project. 2. Developing the plan. It starts with a vision. To guide the focus of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan, Figure 4.2 presents the vision developed at the beginning of the project. The map illustrates the concept of improving the regional multimodal network by integrating 2 important features: activity centers and corridors. Activity centers represent primary and secondary plan components. The context, inventory, and analysis phase of the project established an existing conditions baseline for developing the plan. Building upon an existing database of population, employment, and existing facility characteristics, the plan identified programmed and planned bicycle and pedestrian projects at the regional, county, and local scale as a starting point. Pulling together that inventory and map series of existing facilities and programmed and planned projects was a significant element of the plan. From there, the planning process used an accessibility analysis, input from local governments, the steering committee, and the public to identify gaps and opportunity corridors for bicycle and pedestrian treatments. Figure 5.11 presents the Showcase Trails and planned regional trail network, which served as an important foundation for development of the plan. Other maps are included in the plan that depict existing, planned, and programmed bicycle and pedestrian facilities. The Programs and Policies section of the plan complements the development of facilities with a comprehensive strategy for the Space Coast that supports bicycling and pedestrian activity as mobility options that contribute to increased community physical fitness and health, reduce pollution, improve air quality, and economic benefits for individuals, businesses, and public agencies. This framework will also support the Space Coast's efforts to achieve recognition by the League of American Bicyclists, LAB, as a bicycle-friendly community. The Programs and Policy section identifies strategic actions and indicators based on the 5Es, engineering through complete streets treatments and intersection improvements for pedestrian accessibility, education to provide the training and information necessary to improve safety, encouragement to increase the number of people who walk or use a bicycle, enforcement through working with law enforcement to reduce crashes and provide for a more respectful environment of all users of the roadway network, and executive summary. The plan highlights existing programs, and recommends new programs. 3. Equity in funding and project development to benefit all of Brevard County's residents, including general planning level costs have been developed for each. More detailed analysis of right-of-way availability, traffic conditions, and adjacent land use will need to occur to guide the specific facility design for each project identified. A set of design guidelines has been developed. The plan considers 4 critical elements in determining priority projects. 1. The vision. Is the area aligned with the long-term vision for regional access and connectivity? 2. Regionally significant features. Does the area support key existing and future regional features, such as access to public beaches, ecotourism trails, and proposed transit stations? 3. Bicycle and Pedestrian Steering Committee. Does the area respond to feedback provided by the committee throughout the planning process? 4. Accessibility analysis. Is the area supported by functional and recreational characteristics that suggest high potential for use? The result of the prioritization methodology is a series of high-priority corridors that traverses the Space Coast from north to south and east to west, connecting high-activity areas and bridging the mainland to publicly accessible beaches. The priority corridors serve as the basis for project priorities and are intended extensions and enhancements to existing regional corridors. Projects from the Mobility Plan project list that are located within a priority corridor are considered by this plan as priorities for funding and implementation. Figure 9.3 and Table 9.2 presents the priority projects and their respective priority corridor. The plan identifies existing and potential funding sources that can be used to fund the projects identified. The plan provides guidance on what types of facility improvements are appropriate in different locations. 4. Outcomes. Projects defined in the Mobility Plan significantly expand the network of facilities by closing gaps along critical corridors and improving connectivity to regional employment, recreational and mobility hubs. For instance, the plan's project priorities result in a complete bicycle network for A1A, a doubling of pedestrian facilities along US 1, and will provide bicycle treatments along more than half of US 192 and SR 518. The SR 520 corridor will have a 20% increase in pedestrian facilities, and there will be a north-south network of on- and off-road facilities comprising the East Coast Greenway to complement the St. Johns River to the Sea Loop Trail and the County Showcase Trail network. These projects will help to create more livable streets and a healthier and more energy-efficient Space Coast. Programs and projects in the plan support safety and accessibility for all users of all abilities. 5. 6. Introduction to Space Coast. Mobility-rich in transportation options. The Space Coast, as Brevard County is affectionately referred to, is unique in many ways. Very few counties can claim 70-plus miles of ocean coastline and a national spaceport. In addition to the spaceport, Brevard supports a varied multitude of transportation modes and facilities. Port Canaveral, the county seaport, supports goods movement by sea and tourist cruise ships, and the Melbourne International Airport supports both domestic and international commercial and general aviation. The Florida East Coast Railway supports freight goods movement by train, and the rail corridor on which it functions is poised to reclaim domestic passenger train service potentially in the near future. Interstate 95 supports automobile and truck traffic along the east coast of Florida and the nation. Space Coast Area Transit, SCAT, provides bus transit service to many destinations throughout the county. Finally, Brevard has an emerging network of bicycle and pedestrian pathways that allow county residents even more transportation options to support their daily mobility needs and recreational desires. The Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization, TPO, has established a strong foundation for the bicycle and pedestrian mobility plan through its multi-pronged Introduction. The Space Coast, mobility-rich in transportation options. The Space Coast, as Brevard County is affectionately referred to, is unique in many ways. Very few counties can claim 70-plus miles of ocean coastline and a national spaceport. In addition to the spaceport, Brevard supports a varied multitude of transportation modes and facilities. Port Canaveral, the county seaport, supports goods movement by sea and tourist cruise ships, and the Melbourne International Airport supports both domestic and international commercial and general aviation. The Florida East Coast Railway supports freight goods movement by train, and the rail corridor on which it functions is poised to reclaim domestic passenger train service potentially in the near future. Interstate 95 supports automobile and truck traffic along the east coast of Florida and the nation. Space Coast Area Transit, SCAT, provides bus transit service to many destinations throughout the county. Finally, Brevard has an emerging network of bicycle and pedestrian pathways that allow county residents even more transportation options to support their daily mobility needs and recreational desires. The Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization, TPO, has established a strong foundation for the bicycle and pedestrian mobility plan through its multi-pronged non-motorized transportation planning efforts, including a robust bicycle, pedestrian and the Brevard Greenways and Trails Master Plan, 2001. The program not only addresses facility planning, development, and funding, but incorporates programs that address education and encouragement of safe walking and cycling through various activities, including coordinated efforts with law enforcement. Over the last several years, the TPO has compiled much data related to bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and has prepared various plans and documents addressing different aspects of non-motorized transportation trends and conditions in Brevard County. From complete streets policies that prioritize on-street, multimodal facility design to off-road greenways and trails plans, such as the county's Showcase Trail Network, the Space Coast TPO is hard at work to make Brevard a premier bicycle and pedestrian-friendly destination for both residents and county tourists alike. Planning framework. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan serves as a unified master plan that synthesizes these various elements into a comprehensive and strategic report that guides short and long-term project and program priorities to address gaps and deficiencies in bicycle and pedestrian mobility in ways that support broad community goals relating to economic vitality and community livability. The plan addresses the 5 E's of bicycle and pedestrian planning: engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, and equity. The 6THE, evaluation, is addressed in the goals and objectives section. It is intended to guide the TPO and its partners in their decision-making process regarding non-motorized transportation project priorities and development and implementation of programs that support greater mobility for cyclists and pedestrians of all ages and skill levels. The plan was developed with guidance from the TPO's Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Trails Advisory Committee, DAC, and a steering committee comprised of members of the TPAC and local governments. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan identifies key community and regional assets that must be better connected to recreation, residential and commercial centers by bicycling, walking, and transit. The plan seeks to connect people to destinations while completing gaps in the existing bicycle and pedestrian network. Also, through the implementation of projects, programs, and policies, the plan helps integrate land use and transportation, promotes economic development and sustainability, and enhances the quality of life for county residents. It builds on existing plans developed by the county and each municipality, and provides a framework for multimodal transportation access to address mobility needs for the future. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan identifies numerous system-wide project improvement needs to support a complete, robust, county-wide bicycle and pedestrian transportation network. From a list of system-wide projects, a set of priority projects were identified and recommended for near-future funding and implementation. At this time, the Space Coast TPO is in the early stages of updating its Long-Range Transportation Plan, LRTP, for the horizon year 2040. This 2040 LRTP will identify the vast array of future transportation project needs throughout Brevard County, including bicycle and pedestrian-oriented needs. The adopted Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan will serve as the primary resource for identifying such transportation needs and priorities for future funding. 8. Mobility Plan Structure. The Space Coast Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan is organized into chapters that each build on the previous chapter and provide a framework for moving forward with non-motorized transportation facilities, policies, and programs throughout the Brevard County. Chapter 1, Introduction. This chapter provides an overview of the planning context and framework for the plan within Brevard County. Chapter 2, Goals and Objectives. This chapter presents the goals and objectives that provide a guiding framework for the plan. Chapter 3, Creating the Plan. This chapter outlines the process of developing the plan, creating a county-wide vision, and integrating public participation. Chapter 4, Context and Inventory Analysis. This chapter presents key social, economic, and geographic trends in the Space Coast that are relevant to the development of the plan. Chapter 5, Policies and Programs. Chapter 5 describes the policies and programs recommended in the plan, using the 5 E. Chapter 5, Policies and Programs. Chapter 5 describes the policies and programs recommended in the plan, using the 5 E's of bicycle and pedestrian planning as a guide. Chapter 6, Mobility Plan. This chapter illustrates the location and typology of proposed facilities that fill gaps in the existing mobility network. Chapter 7, Design Guidelines. This chapter describes bicycle and pedestrian facility typologies and recommends design standards for safe use by all users. Chapter 8, Implementation. This chapter defines the methodology for prioritizing projects and identifies potential federal, state, and local funding sources. Introduction. 9. 10. Goals and Objectives. The Space Coast Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan is a guiding framework that seeks to improve quality of life by encouraging multimodal transportation choices. The Mobility Plan supports regional economic development, connections to public beaches and the island areas, ecotourism and planned recreational trails, access to activity centers, access to existing and proposed transit service, vision statement. Defining Goals Table 3.1 presents goals and objectives developed early in the planning process in support of a vision map developed to guide the analysis and focus of the mobility plan. The draft goals and objectives were presented to the steering committee established for the plan, and were refined based on the committee's review and feedback. The measures shown in the table are intended to help the TPO provide a periodic assessment of its accomplishments on bicycle and pedestrian mobility, and could be used. The Space Coast TPO may also use this extensive list to identify priority goals and Table 3.1. Goals and Objectives. Engineering. Establish a well-connected and safe bicycle and pedestrian network that enables multimodal transportation options for on- and off-road travel, and supports health and well-being. Objective 1. Establish liaisons with the sheriff and local law enforcement for Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, DAC, meetings, programs, and projects. Objective 2. Work with local law enforcement to initiate crash reduction strategy. Objective 4. Construct an online forum where the public can organize and share local engineering. Track the number of new or redeveloped facilities that connect residential areas with job centers and other destinations. Track completion of showcase trails, the East Coast Greenway, and connected bikeways and shared use paths. Completed non-motorized project phases to address these gaps and improve connectivity to the beach communities. Track the number of new or redeveloped roadways constructed in accord with complete streets policies. Enforcement. Number of local development of the online forum and creating the plan. The bicycle. Figure 4.1 illustrates the various components that were included as part of the planning process. The plan identifies gaps in the regional network and knits together multiple types of facilities across the Space Coast. The plan addresses the following: connections to regionally significant features, gaps in the existing system, barriers between the mainland and island areas. The vision. The mobility plan vision, figure 4.2, illustrates a concept for improving the regional bicycle and pedestrian mobility system by identifying two important features, activity centers and corridors, that provide the focus for creating an interconnected network serving Brevard County and linking it with regional facilities in adjacent counties. Activity centers represent primary and secondary destinations of economic activity. Generally, centers are located in urban areas or at key locations along the coast, such as beach access points and parks. Corridors reflect two different types of bicycle. As a result, the surrounding landscape beyond these major network connections. The vision. First, a bicycle and the vision, figure 4.217. Third, a public workshop was held to gather feedback from a broad look. The survey results supported the accessibility analysis. What are the highly valued implementation programs or strategies? The results of collaborating with various public groups are detailed in the existing conditions map. Land use. Automobile crashes that involve bicyclists or pedestrians. For the purposes of this plan, the following definitions were used to describe the status of a facility. Existing, the facility has been physically constructed and is currently in use. Program, the facility has either received funding for a specific phase, planning, design, engineering, or construction, or has been approved for funding. Plan, the facility has been designated in an approved plan, but has not yet received funding for construction. Inventory and mapping of the above components was supported by the efforts of many county departments, municipalities, and organizations. The full list of contributors and the resulting maps can be found in the Context and Inventory section. Regionally significant features. In addition, several significant regional features stand out as the most important features to consider in a well-connected regional network serving the Space Coast, figure 4.4. These features include public access to beaches in the island areas, Florida East Coast Greenway, coast-to-coast connector, St. John's River to Sea Loop Trail, figure 4.3, context, information and supporting organization, a detailed explanation of the analysis process, characteristics, and regionally significant features, figure 4.420, building the system mobility plan. The mobility plan proposes an outline of facility types based on the surrounding context can be found in the design guidelines section. Policies and programs. Creating an effective and user-friendly implementation. The mobility plan proposes all other projects included in the plan are eligible for funding. Vision. Mobility planning, context and inventory. And the county spans 72 miles along Florida's Space Coast and had a 2010 population of 543,376 persons. Due to its large size, it encompasses 16 municipalities and the cities of Melbourne. There are also several unincorporated areas. Community demographics. Along with the rest of the region and Florida, Brevard County has experienced a reduction in the rate of population growth during the past 10 years. While the population increased from 476,230 in 2000 to 543,376 in 2010, 14%, the county has. The darker blue areas represent higher concentrations of people per acre. The maps indicate that the overall population is anticipated to further expand from the existing concentrations, favoring the southern part of the county. A significant portion of this population is persons 65 and older and persons less than 18 years of age. Those over the age of 65 comprise 20.8% of the county population, compared to the statewide percentage of 17.6%. County residents 18 years of age and younger comprise 19.4% of the population, while 21% of Florida's population is persons 18 and younger. Totaling more than one-third of the county population, these age groups typically depend on non-motorized transportation more than one. United States Census Bureau. 2010 Census 2. United States Census Bureau. 2010 Census 3. United States Census Bureau. Figure 5.5 displays the current year. The termination of the shuttle program at the NASA Kennedy Space Center has led to a large loss of jobs in the county. Approximately 9,000 people were employed on site, with many other jobs lost indirectly. It is estimated that for every one person directly employed at the Kennedy Space Center, there were 2.8 people employed outside the gate who depended on the business from Space Shuttle Operation 6. In May 2011, Population 2, 4.00, 5.00, 5.00 System Plan Bicycle Facilities Plan Population, 1.0, 4.2, 5.0 Employment 2, Employment 20, the average, Table 5.2 below summarizes the 2011 average unemployment rates for the state, Brevard County, and adjacent counties. For the year 2011, Brevard County had a higher unemployment rate than the state of Florida as a whole, as well as several of its surrounding counties and the average for the immediate region. Table 5.2, 2011 unemployment rates for region and Florida location unemployment rate Florida 10.5%, Brevard County 11.1%, Indian River County 12. USA Today, H. United States Census. Location, this indicates a transportation disadvantaged segment of the population. Location, drive to work, carpool to work, public transit to work, walk to work, households own 0 vehicles, households own 1 vehicle, Florida 79.4%, 10.4%, 2%, 1.6%, 6.5%, 40.3%, regional average 81.62%, 9.36%, 1.14%, 1.24%, 5.26%, 30. This indicates a transportation disadvantaged segment of the population mostly similar to the region and state. Table 5.3 At the same time BMT decreased, transit youth, the analysis, Table 5.3, comparison of state, regional, and county transportation. Youth and elderly figure 5.8 95 95 95 111 100 and 92 192 346 50 518 514 500 Transit access figure, stat bus stop, bicycle and pedestrian. The county roadway and multimodal transportation system connects various bicycle and pedestrian mobility. Brevard County places a strong emphasis on promoting bicycle and pedestrian mobility. County pedestrian and bicycling facilities include the following: 44 miles of existing trails, 132 miles of complete sidewalks on one side of the road, 138 miles of complete sidewalks on both sides of the road, 13 miles of bicycle lanes on both sides of the road, 56 miles of road. The county roadway and multimodal transportation system connects various points of interest. The county roadway and multimodal transportation system connects various points of interest, including schools, arts, and tourist areas. Brevard Public Schools is in charge of 86 schools, 17 special centers, and 9 charter schools in the county. The County Parks and Recreation Department manages 108 parks, 3 campgrounds, 3 golf courses, 6 nature centers, 42 beach access sites, 13 school athletic sites, and more than 17,000 acres of environmentally endangered lands, sanctuaries, and conservation areas. Many of these key points of interest are connected or will be connected by a system of multimodal transportation corridors, which include the showcase trails. Brevard County is a key tourist destination in Florida, with many visitors coming for ecotourism or recreational visits. Some important points of interest include the Brevard Zoo, Cocoa Beach, the Archie Parr National Wildlife Refuge, Canaveral National Seashore, Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge, and Space Coast Stadium. Current plans, policies, and programs. Brevard County has a strong commitment to improving and expanding bicycle and pedestrian facilities throughout the county. The Space Coast TPO staffs a regional bicycle, pedestrian, and trails advisory committee, supports the Safe Routes to School program, and organizes several local bicycle education rallies each year. In addition, TPO staff is heavily involved with the Brevard County school system, assisting with programs and events to promote safe bicycling and walking at an early age. While less than 1% of all trips in the county are made by transit, walking, or bicycling, the TPO survey among a cross-section of Brevard County residents indicated strong support towards increasing multimodal travel options. A number of plans and policies guide the development of bicycle and pedestrian transportation in Brevard. Veneta Causeway, SR 404, bicycle lane improvements. Bicycle-only lanes have been added to Veneta Causeway as part of a series of statewide pilot projects by FDOT to allow bicyclists to use sections of limited access roadways. The pilot project included higher railings, safety signage, and restriping with green stripes to alert bicyclists and motorists to crossings through areas of vehicular traffic. The Veneta Causeway pilot project is an example of how to improve access to limited access roadway facilities without costly construction, such as road widening or right-of-way purchases. Construction of the Context and Inventory Analysis 33. Pilot project was completed in July 2013. Comprehensive plan. Both the mobility plan and the comprehensive plan's goals transcend local municipalities to focus on improving county-wide regional access. A fundamental goal of the Brevard County Comprehensive Plan is to encourage multimodal projects and reduce dependence on the automobile. The overarching goal of the transportation element of the plan is to achieve a safe, convenient, and energy-efficient transportation system in Brevard County that supports the community defined by this comprehensive plan and enhances the mobility of people and goods while reducing reliance upon the automobile and minimizing impacts to neighborhoods, cultural resources, and natural habitats. One of the main objectives associated with this goal is to encourage a multimodal transportation network that safely and conveniently connects existing and proposed major trip generators and attractors. The transportation element of the Brevard County Comprehensive Plan also includes a section specifically focused on complete streets. Complete streets design roads with all users in mind, so that motorists, bicyclists, pedestrians, and transit riders can safely travel on the roadway. The objective of the Complete Streets policies is to enable safe access for the community and ensure the feasibility of providing safe access for all users during the design of roadways. The TPO adopted a Complete Streets Guiding Principles document to guide the efforts to achieving complete streets among its local government partners and the Florida Department of Transportation. Planning for complete streets will consider projects that include sidewalk space for pedestrians, bike lanes or routes, vehicle travel lanes, transit vehicles, facilities and routes, on-street parking, median use, buffer areas, landscaping, and the existing and future land use context of a roadway or corridor. A number of roadways have been designated as key complete streets or multimodal corridors. Some of these corridors include A1A, US 1, SR 520, SR 518, SR 514, and US 192. The cities of Cape Canaveral, Cocoa, Grant Bulgaria, Pompey, Rockledge, and West Melbourne have furthered the efforts set out by the TPO by adopting their own complete streets resolutions. Long-Range Transportation Plan. The Space Coast TPO's 2035 Long-Range Transportation Plan, LRTP, further adds to the multimodal direction in the county. The LRTP calls for a strong focus on economic vitality, safety, and sustainability and livability. The LRTP is geared to accomplish the following objectives: improve the extent and continuity of the regional modal networks, increase the number of transportation choices, improve the real-time transit management, improve real-time traffic and transit information, and improve street livability by providing more than one modal option. According to the 2035 LRTP goals, objectives, performance measures, and targets section, committed bicycle and pedestrian projects include 246 miles of bicycle facilities, 306 miles of pedestrian facilities, and 17 miles of trails. These projects are aimed to reach 2035 targets of 300. These projects are aimed to reach 2035 targets of 300 bicycle miles, 375 pedestrian miles, and 50 trails miles, as well as a target of reaching 30 miles of multimodal/complete streets designated corridors by 2035. Bicycle and pedestrian improvements in the LRTP fall under the following focus areas: regional showcase trails, alternative commuter bike routes, sidewalk strategy areas, regional connectors, and safety improvements. The regional showcase trails encompass nearly 200 miles of trails planned Oregon in development throughout the county that are created using federal enhancement funds. The TPO 34 works with local governments to designate key corridors as alternative commuter bike routes that enhance bicycle pedestrian access. Regional connectors address gaps in the regional bicycle and pedestrian network. Public opinion of bicycle and pedestrian priorities includes completing the showcase trails and filling in bicycle and sidewalk network gaps. 10. The TPO reviews the state of the system ranked projects to submit its annual project priorities list to FDOT in order to determine funding from state and federal transportation sources. The annually updated project priorities weights individual projects based on selection criteria to prioritize projects for funding. The TPO will continue to prioritize the regional showcase trails with federal enhancement funds and other available sources. Other multimodal projects are funded by local or outside sources. Alternative commuter bike routes, regional connectors, and projects in areas with high pedestrian and bicycle crash rates are given additional weight in the selection criteria in the annual project priorities. The intersections of Otterburn Avenue with Clear Lake Road, and King Street with Fisk Boulevard recorded the highest numbers of bicycle and pedestrian crashes in 2010. Notable Brevard County cities with high crash rates include Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, Rockledge, and Titusville. Local plans. Most of the municipalities' comprehensive plans contain bicycle pedestrian or trail-based policies. In addition, several municipalities have Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, or other locally oriented plans that advocate for improved bicycle and pedestrian connections and facilities. For a list of local plans that are complementary to this report, see Table 5.4. Several of the municipalities of Brevard County have mobility or greenways and trails plans. The City of Melbourne carried out a mobility study that generated a baseline of mobility characteristics in 5 mobility districts designated by the city, which include the Melbourne International Airport area, Community Redevelopment Area /US 1 Corridor, South Babcock Street area, West Oakall Boulevard area, and North Wickham Road area. These districts represent unique desired mobility orientations and varied mobility focus areas. For example, the Melbourne International Airport area will be geared toward improving transit and intermodal facilities, while the West Oakall Boulevard area will focus on improving pedestrian/sidewalk and bicycle facilities. The Melbourne Signature Projects, described in the Melbourne Greenways, Blueways, and Trails Plan, are designated greenways, blueways, trails, and linear parks that will connect or address recreational sites, historical landmarks, cultural facilities, points of interest, conservation needs, and transportation requirements. The City of West Melbourne designated an entire section of its comprehensive plan to multimodal transportation, and seeks to achieve its goal of a safe, accessible, and efficient transportation system through financing strategies and land use planning. It is now required by Florida law that the comprehensive plans of local governments within MPO boundaries address bicycle and pedestrian transportation. Context and inventory analysis 35. Cape Canaveral Envision Cape Canaveral, November 2009, Code of Ordinances Chapter 110 Zoning, Article X, A1A Economic Opportunity Overlay District COCO Comprehensive Plan 2010 to 2020, Future Land Use, Transportation, Recreation, and Open Space, and Conservation Elements, COCO Waterfront Master Plan, November 2008, COCO Beach Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use, Conservation, Transportation, Recreation, and Open Space Elements, 2010, Downtown COCO Beach Community Redevelopment Plan Volume I. March 2012, Grant Bulk Area Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use and Transportation Elements, October 2011, Melbourne Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use, Transportation, Coastal Management, Conservation, and Recreation and Open Space Elements, January 2010, Melbourne Beach Comprehensive Plan, Transportation and Recreation and Open Space Elements, September 2010, Town of Melbourne Beach Vision, May 2007, Palm Bay Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use and Transportation Elements, August 2006. Community Visioning Plan, 2006, City of Palm Bay Bayfront Community Redevelopment District 2024 Plan, Creating a Bayfront Village on the Indian River Lagoon, 2000. Works with local governments to designate key corridors as alternative commuter bike routes that enhance bicycle pedestrian access. Regional connectors address gaps in the regional bicycle and pedestrian network. Public opinion of bicycle and pedestrian priorities includes completing the showcase trails and filling in bicycle and sidewalk network gaps. 10. The TPO reviews the state of the system ranked projects to submit its annual project priorities list to FDOT in order to determine funding from state and federal transportation sources. The annually updated project priorities weights individual projects based on selection criteria to prioritize projects for funding. The TPO will continue to prioritize the regional showcase trails with federal enhancement funds and other available sources. Other multimodal projects are funded by local or outside sources. Alternative commuter bike routes, regional connectors, and projects in areas with high pedestrian and bicycle crash rates are given additional weight in the selection criteria in the annual project priorities. The intersections of Otterburn Avenue with Clear Lake Road, and King Street with Fisk Boulevard reported the highest numbers of bicycle and pedestrian crashes in 2010. Notable Brevard County cities with high crash rates include Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, Rockledge, and Titusville. Local plans. Most of the municipalities' comprehensive plans contain bicycle pedestrian or trail-based policies. In addition, several municipalities, for example, the Melbourne International Airport area will be geared. Cape Canaveral Envision Cape Canaveral, November 2002, Titusville Comprehensive Plan, Future Land Use, Transportation, Conservation, Intergovernmental Coordination, and Recreation and Open Space Elements, Miracle City. Safety and educational programs. The TPO facilitates extensive educational programs and outreach efforts promoting walking and bicycling, especially with school-age children. Some of these efforts include bicycle rodeos, bicycling and pedestrian safety fairs and exhibits, assistance to elementary school pedestrian/bicycling safety programs, walk-to-school days, and Feed Not. More information about safety and education programs is outlined in Chapter 5, Programs and Policies. Most bicycle crashes, including bicycle versus pedestrian, bicycle versus bicycle, and bicycle versus automobile go unreported. Even with detailed examination of the causes and contributing factors of the crash data involving bikes and pedestrians, it is likely that very few would be avoided with facility improvements. Most result from improper cycling, pedestrian or motorist behavior, such as failure to follow the rules of the road or making poor judgments. However, it is important to document and understand the locations of these crashes. Figure 10 shows the locations of bicycle and pedestrian crashes and resulting fatalities from May 2009 to May 2012. Table 5.5 summarizes the number of crashes and fatalities that occurred during this time and that are displayed in Figure 5.10. Summary. Bicycling and walking as a means of recreation and transportation lead to a number of benefits, including improved health and a reduced impact on the environment by using more sustainable forms of transportation. Providing an adequate bicycle and pedestrian system makes travel easier and more equitable for transportation disadvantaged populations, such as those under 18 years of age, persons over 65, and lower income segments of the population with less access to automobile use. It adds to the quality of life for existing and future residents and can act as an economic development generator for ecotourism activities. As the county population and employment centers continue to evolve and expand, it will become increasingly important to broaden the bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure into a functional, well-connected network of sidewalks, bicycle lanes, and multi-use trails to accommodate current and future residents. 10. Space Coast 2035 Long Range Transportation Plan, Space Coast TPO 11. Space Coast TPO Annual Report 2011. Table 5.5, Brevard County Bicycle and Pedestrian Crashes and Fatalities, 2009 to 2012, Crashes fatalities bicycle 336 5 pedestrian 288 14 total 624 19 context and inventory analysis 37. Pedestrian crashes figure 5.10 95 95 95 111 192 192 346 55 118 514 507 401 524 407 405 A1 A1 A 520 528 528 05 miles July 31st 2013 pedestrian crashes. Pedestrian bicycle fatality system plan crashes data source, the University of Florida Geoplant Center Signal 4 analytics for the period of May 2009 to May 2012. 38. 12 http://www.greenway.org/in 12 http://www.greenway.org/index.html Regional Trail Network Space Coast Showcase Trails. The Showcase Trails, Figure 5.11, are a planned system of on- and off-road bicycle and pedestrian facilities that include sidewalks, bicycle facilities, and off-road shared use paths. Individual showcase trails include East Central Florida Regional Rail Trail Kennedy Space Center, KSC, Loop Trail North Merritt Island Pioneer Trail St. Johns River Eco Heritage Trail Brevard Zoo Trail South Brevard Al Tuttle Trail A1A Urban Trail. Each trail consists of sections that are currently existing, scheduled for construction, programmed, or planned for future implementation. The current status of the trails is illustrated in the Showcase Trails maps. East Coast Greenway. The East Coast Greenway, ECG, is a developing trail system, spanning nearly 3,000 miles as it winds its way between Canada and Key West, linking all the major cities of the eastern seaboard. As of 2013, over 27% of the route is already on safe, traffic-free paths. The ultimate goal is a trail network that is 100% separated from motor vehicles. The ECG is an important part of local transportation systems. Trail networks encourage local economic development, recreational opportunities, and healthier lifestyles. 12. Coast to Coast Connector. The Coast to Coast Connector is a developing 275-mile bicycle and pedestrian trail that extends from the Gulf Coast to the Atlantic Ocean. Many sections of the trails have been constructed, with many other segments programmed for future funding. In the Space Coast, there is an estimated 12-mile gap that runs from Titusville to the coast along SR 402, Max Brewer Memorial Parkway. List of contributing agencies. Collaboration with state, county, and local municipality organizations was essential to the constructing a comprehensive database of existing bicycle, pedestrian, and shared use facilities. All of Brevard County's municipalities were included as part of the planning, review, and public participation process. Additionally, data was provided by the following entities that contributed to the creation of the existing facility network maps, figures 5.11, 5.12, and 5.13 Florida DEP Office of Greenways and Trails East Coast Greenway Alliance Space Coast TPO Brevard County. Showcase Trails and Planned Regional Trails figure 5.11 Palm, Johns River Eco, Palm Bay Showcase Trails are, figure 5.12, Palm Bay Titusville Melbourne Grant, multi-jurisdictional 2. 43, accent 13. Pursue public-private partnerships with local agencies and businesses that encourage installation of bicycle parking and other supporting facilities. Enforcement activities should strive toward these important objectives: protect the pedestrian's right to safely cross a roadway at designated crosswalks, protect the bicyclist's right to operate on the roadway, protect pedestrians and bicyclists from careless or dangerous behaviors by motorists, including obstructing bike lanes, crosswalks, and sidewalks, enforce jaywalking rules, enforce stopping for pedestrians at designated crosswalks, ensure that bicyclists follow the rules and operate safely, ensure speed control in high pedestrian activity areas. Taken together, activities that achieve these objectives represent a comprehensive enforcement program, sending a message to motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians that all types of users should be respected and have a right to use the roadway, except where specifically excluded by law. The county sheriff local police departments play a key role in creating a supportive atmosphere through constant contact with other county, city staff, and residents from all areas of the Space Coast. Law enforcement officers and other police department staff who interact with the public are familiar with traffic and bicycle laws and have many opportunities to reinforce correct motorist and bicyclist behavior, sending a strong message to the community that bicycling and walking are viable and acceptable means of transportation. Enforcement activities. Enforcement of bicycle, pedestrian, and traffic laws may incorporate a range of activities focused at raising awareness, improving behavior of all roadway users, and improving comfort and safety for bicyclists and pedestrians. Both bicyclists and motorists must be made aware of their rights and responsibilities and be encouraged to act within the law. General enforcement efforts may include ensuring police department staff, officers, and other people who interact with the public and Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, DAC, see below under encouragement, are aware of current rules of the road, bicycle, and pedestrian related laws. Conducting enforcement. Conducting enforcement campaigns to encourage motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians to follow laws and improve safety for all. These campaigns may include issuing citations or warnings, rewarding behavior that indicates awareness and consideration for the safety and rights of all roadway users, and should identify specific behaviors to target. Developing partnerships within community and business organizations to promote compliance with bicycle and pedestrian laws and encourage considerations for all users. Recommendation: continue pursuing opportunities to educate and raise awareness of bicycle, pedestrian, and traffic laws for staff, police officers, and the public. 51. Crash locations. There may be locations within a Space Coast that experience greater numbers of bicycle or pedestrian-related crashes. It is these locations that should be singled out for safety-related countermeasures. The Space Coast has extensive crash statistics, types and locations, that may be used to determine possible interventions and strategies to reduce crashes. Recommendation: continuing building upon the Space Coast's crash data to coordinate crash prevention strategies at key intersections and locations. Present a summary of the crash data as part of the county's State of the System report. Safe travel participation. Local law enforcement agencies, with logistical support from the Space Coast TPO, should organize participation by law enforcement agencies in TAC meetings to contribute to a dialogue among cyclists, pedestrians, motorists, and police officers about rights, rules, and appropriate responses to incidents involving conflicts between cars, bikes, and pedestrians. This would provide first-hand information to law enforcement providers about issues of which they otherwise might be unaware, as well as giving local bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorists a useful venue in which to express concerns and seek solutions together. Recommendation: initiate public events where local law enforcement and local bicyclists and pedestrians may dialogue about local safety issues. Monitoring unimproved shared use paths. Unimproved shared use paths, especially those that are currently managed by entities, such as the St. John's Water Management District and the Environmentally Endangered Lands Program, present concerns for enforcing appropriate use by users. Many of these trails are located in rural or natural areas and are seasonally wet. Additionally, it is expected that they will be used by a wide variety of users, including equine, mountain bicyclists, and hikers. Before adding connections to these areas, it is imperative to engage in a discussion of who and how enforcement of safe and appropriate trail use will be maintained. Recommendation: identify the agencies, office, S, or department, S, responsible for enforcing safe use of shared use paths throughout the county. Education with enforcement. Local law enforcement officers should participate in efforts organized by the Space Coast TPO, TAC, and local schools, as well as community groups, to distribute materials such as lights, helmets, and safety information. Targeting these distribution efforts to people who display unsafe behavior, such as riding on sidewalks or against traffic. Bicycle registration. For the most part, bike registration in the U.S. is usually done to help prevent theft and recover stolen bicycles. A few communities in the U.S. have formal registration and / or inspection requirements, such as Upper St. Clair, Pennsylvania, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. While bicycle operator licensing requirements does not usually accompany registration programs in the U.S., they can provide a good outreach opportunity for local law enforcement agencies to work with bicycle shops to distribute safe cycling information while helping to deter theft. Recommendation: initiate a voluntary countywide bicycle registration program, or individual programs for each municipality as a means to reduce bicycle theft. Encouragement. Bicycling and walking are legitimate modes of transportation and important forms of personal mobility and independence. Additionally, a shift toward bicycling and walking for short trips gives people greater mobility freedom and has the potential to positively impact air quality, traffic congestion, and personal health. Having a connected network of sidewalks and on-street bicycle facilities that allow people to travel safely from one place to another is the first step toward an active walking and cycling public. While enthusiasts and advocates are more likely to use bicycle and pedestrian facilities once they have been installed, others tend to need a bit more encouragement and confidence building before they are comfortable bicycling or walking as a mode of transportation. Encouragement activities promote and raise awareness of bicycling options and events. An important key to success of these activities is having a coordinated approach, a consistent message, and focused activities. Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. A Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, TAC, would ideally represent multiple facets of the community and coordinate with Space Coast TPO, county, and city staff on a wide range of bicycle and pedestrian issues, including implementation of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan. They would be charged with representing the needs and opinions of local residents, businesses, and others related to bicycle and pedestrian issues, plans, programs, policies, and project implementation. Goals of the committee include developing guidelines and a process for establishing a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, including committee composition, appointment process, purpose and responsibilities, staff liaison and coordination roles, and other details to ensure committee effectiveness. Monitoring plan implementation. Goals of the committee include developing guidelines and a process for establishing a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, including committee composition, appointment process, purpose and responsibilities, staff liaison and coordination roles, and other details to ensure committee effectiveness. Monitoring plan implementation, including helping organize events and programs. Recommendation: establish a TAC that is empowered to oversee the implementation of the mobility plan, programs, and policies. Community events increase bicycle and pedestrian activities and just for fun. When combined with safety education materials and programs, the following events and informational materials can increase comfort and safety for all roadway users: bicycle-specific community activities, such as Bike to Work Week, Bike Month, and / or Bike in Movies. Local businesses. Public-private partnerships, whether formal or informal, such as between local businesses and the county, can help encourage residents to walk or ride for short shopping trips. Recommendation: continue to build public-private partnerships that promote the construction and use of bicycle. Examples of concessionaires include bicycle rentals, provide easy access to bicycle facilities for visiting tourists or occasional bicyclists. Rental locations should be located along a route between 1 and 3 miles from a popular destination, such as a public beach. Bicycle repairs. Convenient access to a bicycle repair shop helps to keep frequent bicyclists active, and bicycles that need a mid-route repair. Food/drink, providing multiple opportunities for snacks and hydration will help keep walkers and bicyclists healthy and energetic. These services may walking, running, and bicycling guides related organizations should work in partnership with the Space Coast TPO, FDOT. Activities to support this goal include the following: joint Space Coast TPO and county resolution, establish a commitment to become a bicycle and pedestrian friendly community as defined by the League of American Bicyclists. Highlighted with signs and in local media. Clean City Program, local public works and FDOT divisions should organize Adopt a Sidewalk, Adopt a. Motorists and pedestrians also need to understand the legal rights and responsibilities of bicyclists. The Space Coast currently has a robust and continuously expanding set of public education programs that are accessible to any organization including schools, law enforcement agencies, civic and social organizations. Existing Space Coast TPO education programs. Many of the Space Coast's current programs are based in schools, however any organization may reach out to the TPO and request assistance hosting an educational program. Safe Routes to School Programs. Florida Traffic and Bicycle Safety Education Program, a 3 to 4 week state certified program taught by certified physical education teachers during class. Feed Not Fuel website, a TPO developed and highly interactive website that uses fun activities to teach children about bicycle and pedestrian safety. Walk to School Day, an international program held annually in over programs and policies 40 countries on the first Wednesday of October. Brevard County typically has more than 40 schools participate in this event. Bike to School Day, an annual event held in May that is similar to Walk to School Day, effective cycling, training events for adult cyclists on the rules of the road and proper road riding skills. Bicycle and pedestrian education programs. Though labor intensive, bicycle and pedestrian public education campaigns for bicyclists and pedestrians of all ages, motorists, and the general public regarding the rights and responsibilities of all roadway users. Education, training, and coordination for local government staff. Currently, the TPO coordinates with local government staff in the implementation of educational programs. Parents for safe walking and cycling. Parents of school-aged children can be reached through extensions of the educational program. Information can be distributed by the Chambers of Commerce to and through major. This forum may be hosted by the PDAC's website and supported connections to popular social media platforms. Programs and policies. 58. Recommendation: establish an online safety forum that is hosted, maintained, and overseen by a public or private organization. Integrate the forum into the above recommended activities, events, and programs. Equity: the bicycle and pedestrian mobility plan aims to ensure that all persons, communities, and neighborhoods within the Space Coast are afforded equal opportunity to voice their desires and needs regarding areas for potential facility. Recommendation: promote the following equity initiatives, bicycle facilities and education opportunities that are implemented throughout the Space Coast region while complying with Title VI, the Civil Rights Act of 1959. This section describes 1. What types of facilities are proposed to? The regional system. The future of the Space Coast's bicycle and pedestrian network is filled with opportunity. The challenge for the mobility plan lies in sorting through the extensive existing, program, and planned facilities, presented in the context and inventory analysis section, to identify gaps in the multi-layered system. There are 3 overlapping systems that in conjunction form the existing bicycle and pedestrian network. Bicycle network. The current bicycle network contains several bicycle facilities along primary regional roadways, however the network is fragmented with few connections between activity centers. Many of the existing bicycle facilities are 4-foot wide paved shoulders, which is Many of the existing bicycle facilities are 4-foot wide paved shoulders, which is considered a bicycle accessible facility by FDOT, but may not be a comfortable or safe facility for less experienced users. One example of this conditions is along the northern section of A1A. Pedestrian network. The existing pedestrian network varies widely throughout the county. Several urban areas have a dense and well-connected local network of sidewalks, but there are few regional-scale pedestrian facilities. Regional Trail Network. The Space Coast's regional trail network is largely in the programming or planning phases of development. There has been strong push to implement key sections of the regional showcase trails, such as the Brevard Zoo Trail and the St. Johns River to the Sea Loop Trail. However, many sections of the showcase trail network remain unfunded. The East Coast Greenway Trail and the Coast to Coast Connector are examples of other planned, but largely unfunded trails. Facility typology. Although the 3 different networks cater to different users, conceptually and functionally they work together to form the overall mobility network. For example, both bicyclists and pedestrians may safely access shared use paths. This means that shared use paths may act as a bridge between bicycle and pedestrian networks, thereby efficiently extending both users' access to regional destinations. The mobility plan proposes 3 primary types of facilities that correspond to the 3 different networks. On-street bicycle facilities. On-street bicycle facilities, figure 7.1, are located within roadways and are designed specifically for use by bicyclists. Bicycle facilities may include designated bicycle lanes, shared lane markings, bicycle may use full lane signs, or paved shoulders. Pedestrian facilities. Pedestrian facilities, figure 7.2, are generally located adjacent to roadways, but are typically located within the right-of-way. Sidewalks are the most common facility type, although paved shoulders, located within the roadway, may be appropriate in low-traffic or rural areas. 61. Shared use paths are located outside of the roadway. A full description of facility typologies, including the method for recommending a facility type and recommended dimensions for each facility, is located in the Design Guidelines section. The following series of maps illustrates the location of proposed facilities in each of the 3 networks. The first map illustrates the proposed bicycle network with shared use path connections. The second map illustrates the proposed pedestrian network with shared use path connections. The third map illustrates each individual project by its network and map ID number, which may be used to reference information about the project, including specific facility type, in the corresponding mobility plan project list, Table 7.1. The methodology for cost estimates and unit costs for each project is described in the implementation section. Mobility Plan 62. Mobility Plan Figure 7.1 on-street bicycle and shared use path facilities Palm Bay, Titusville, Melbourne, Grant, Valparia, Coco, Malabar, Rockledge, Coco Beach, West Melbourne, Satellite Beach, Cape Canaveral, Indian Harbour Beach, Indialantic, Melbourne Beach, Palm Shores, Melbourne Village, 95, 95, 95, 111, 100. Showcase trails are shown. 64. Mobility Plan Figure 7.2 Pedestrian, multi-jurisdictional shared use. 2. Showcase, individual showcase trail locations and theater currents. Mobility Plan Figures, asterisk B flow equals bike may use full lane mobility. 78 SRA1A SR 520, State Route 528 on-street bicycle designated bike lane 2.78 148, Michigan Avenue Cocoa Lakes Drive US 1 on-street. Asterisk B flow equals bike may use full lane mobility plan project list asterisk and explanation. 219 SRA1A S 2nd Street 294 SW of Valparia / Grant Road / Pine Sap Hobby Valparia Road Micro Road Off-Road Shared. 63 SRA1A 5th Avenue 9th Avenue on-street bicycle. Asterisk B flow equals bike may use full lane mobility plan project list asterisk and explanation. 254 Malabar RD Babcock ST. 174 Aurora Road John Rhodes Boulevard Morgan Port on-street pedestrian. Table 7.1. Continued. 69. 2. 1. Table. 2. 2. 4. Tape. Type. On it. 1. 2. Asterisk B flow equals bike may use full lane mobility plan project list asterisk an explanation of planning level cost assumptions is detailed in the implementation section. 80 Arampia Road I-90 233 Camp 230 122 asterisk B 98 128 unincorporated area 161 asterisk B flow E 119 unincorporated area asterisk B flow 215 table 7.63. From a user perspective as well as efficiencies in planning, design, and construction, there also needs to be clarity in the design standards for types of pedestrian and bicycle facilities, a common terminology and guidance on flexibility, several opportunities for public and private parking. The expected cost of implementing all of the proposed improvements in the bicycle and pedestrian mobility plan will far exceed the TPO's short-term budget. It is therefore imperative that every effort is made by public agencies and private developers to incorporate good pedestrian and bicycle supportive design into their projects. Pedestrian and bicycle-friendly design should be a cornerstone of site planning principles. This is critical to supporting specific bicycle and pedestrian construction projects, making the system more seamless and convenient for the user. Simple things, like providing adequate bicycle parking at commercial buildings, or ensuring well-defined and physically separated pedestrian ways connecting public streets and adjacent development to non-residential buildings, are often overlooked in the site planning and design process. Putting pedestrians first in consideration of site design need not limit automobile access or convenience, however, it does require careful attention to what encourages people to walk and where those connections need to be made. Without those considerations, the projects in the mobility plan will have limited effectiveness in creating an interconnected transportation system that helps achieve both mobility and livability for all users. The design guidelines are presented in two sections. Section I, Design Principles outlines fundamental concepts that underscore the importance of safety, connectivity, and accessibility in the selection of specific facility treatments. Section 2, Implementation presents several bicycle and pedestrian treatments and recommended design considerations. The guidelines presented in this chapter are intended to create a stronger pedestrian and bicycle environment in Brevard County. It provides guidance for both public and private sectors in the planning, design, and construction of roadways, parking areas and public spaces that accommodate bicycle and pedestrian facilities. The focus is on ways to accommodate safe, convenient, and comfortable pedestrian and bicycle access for new development and redevelopment. This is not intended to replace or augment any of the adopted federal or state design standards, such as the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, Florida Green Book and the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, OSHTO, Guide for Development of Bicycle Facilities, Land Development Codes, or land use policies in the cities or county. Rather, it provides guidance to local staff and the development community on minimum standards, best practices, and preferred treatments that support walking and bicycling. The recommendations contained in this document are not binding, and do not supersede requirements from cited sources, but should be used when possible to enhance the development review and project development process to support the Space Coast TPO Mobility Plan. 79. Design Principle Safety. Safety is the most important design principle of any implementation project and drives the design standards of most federal and state requirements. Safety is enhanced through better visibility. This process should continue and may be supported by the design principles and reference documents in this chapter. Connectivity. There are economic, public health, and social benefits from a well-connected non-motorized transportation network that provides access to destinations and recreational opportunities. A clear and well-defined bicycle and pedestrian network that connects Brevard County's developed urban and suburban neighborhoods as well as its natural landscapes, parks and recreational areas, and schools provides an important means toward a more livable community with greater economic, social, and health opportunities for all residents. For example, the federal Safe Routes to Schools program works to provide accessible routes for children, which improves local traffic conditions and safety for young pedestrians and bicyclists. Walking and biking to school promotes active lifestyles which reduces the risk of health problems such as obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Safety.fy.do. Walking and biking to school promotes active lifestyles which reduces the risk of health problems such as obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Safety.fy.dot.gov/saferoutes. Simply put, walkability is the quality of an environment for people on foot. However, improved walkability also improves the quality of a street, commercial district, or neighborhood for everyone who uses it. Walkable streets are increasingly viewed by many people as attractive areas for investment and economic return. The dominant paradigm of transportation design since the mid-20th century has focused on the automobile, while facilities for bicyclists and pedestrians have often been an afterthought or omitted altogether. On the other hand, traditional civic design as it was practiced for centuries was compact, walkable, and scaled for pedestrian and bicyclist mobility. The street was designed as a place to socialize rather than as a conduit to move cars. By sensitively incorporating the principles of traditional connectivity into new and redeveloped roadways, the Space Coast TPO and its local government partners can create more bicycle and pedestrian-friendly streets and thriving destinations. Brevard County possesses a rich fabric of opportunity for creating an interconnected network of regional destinations and recreation. The Showcase Trails and the East Coast Greenway are just two of the many regional opportunities throughout the county. Connectivity can occur incrementally by establishing clear goals and design guidelines aiding objectives that engage local public and private organizations such as parks, schools, and law enforcement. Context-sensitive solutions, CSS, is a method for planning transportation projects that considers the potential users, safety concerns, the community, and the surrounding area's aesthetic, historic, and environmental qualities. Additional information about CSS planning the 4 factors that primarily affect an area's context are land use, both present and future. Brevard County has its own unique range of activity zones, transition areas, suburban areas, rural areas. 81. Figure 8.1, Typical Transect Source, Center for Applied Transect Studies. Figure 8.2, Space Coast Bicycle and Pedestrian Transect. T1 Natural Areas, T2 Rural Areas, T3 Suburban Areas, T4 Transition Areas, T5 Activity Areas. Roadway types. Example, Activity King ST, 520, Center from US 1 to River Edge Boulevard, Cocoa. Activity centers have the highest example, Suburban Port, example, Babcock Natural ST from Mito Area RD to Felsmere RD. Designed for all users. The selection and design of bicycle and pedestrian treatments should be mindful of the varying skills, abilities, and needs of all the county's users. Bicyclists and pedestrians of different ages respond differently to their environment. For example, simplify roadway signs and other visual cues. In many situations, the successful completion of a project may necessitate going above and beyond data or other roadway and facility design requirements listed in this document. Sidewalks must also be designed with a specific degree of cross slope to allow proper drainage, so that rainwater. Implementation strategies for a bicycle and pedestrian friendly community must be a collaborative process undertaken by the public and private sectors. Measures and partnerships may include the following: implementation of regional network including the Showcase Trails and East Coast Greenway, adoption of a county-wide complete streets policy and set of strategies. Table 8.1 provides recommendations for creating access. This table may be applied to the bicycle and pedestrian mobility plan to determine the facility type, dimensions, and other supporting treatments for future projects. Ocean Boulevard is an example of a complete street in Brevard. Context: pedestrian treatment, minimum sidewalk width, preferred sidewalk width. Context: pedestrian treatment, minimum sidewalk width, preferred sidewalks. Public sidewalks should be provided on both sides of all urban activity centers and transition areas, roadways where pedestrian connectivity is needed. Sidewalks should be wide enough to comfortably serve the volume and type of pedestrian traffic expected in a particular area and should be wide enough to accommodate any obstructions like utility poles, signage, trash cans, and other street-side amenities. For example, certain activity centers may benefit from a wider sidewalk to accommodate heavy pedestrian traffic in addition to outdoor dining or retail display. All sidewalks should be designed to meet the standards set forth in the most current versions of the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, Florida Green Book. Figure 8.3. Figure 8.4. Bicycle facilities. The selection of appropriate streets with a suitable type of bicycle facility is very important for the safety and the continuity of the bicycle system. Different types of bicycle facility types may respond to a variety of factors, including traffic volume, Different types of bicycle facility types may respond to a variety of factors, including traffic volume, right-of-way width, and skill level of the rider. All bicycle facilities should be designed to meet the most current version of the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, OSHTA, Guide for Development of Bicycle Facility Standards. For each type, minimum bicycle facility widths and preferred widths are located in Table 8.1. Designated bicycle lanes. A designated bicycle lane is a portion of the roadway designated by striping, signing, or special pavement markings for the exclusive use of bicyclists. Bicycle lanes are the preferred treatment on roads where the speed limit is greater than 35 miles per hour. For safety purposes, sidewalks are not encouraged as substitutes for bicycle lanes, as bicyclists riding on sidewalks are generally less visible to motorists traveling along a roadway or those who are attempting to merge into traffic from a driveway. Regulatory bicycle lane signs inform motorists and bicyclists of this condition and are supplemented with pavement markings, including striping. In places where rolling terrain makes fast descents likely, shared lane markings, see Figure 4, should be used on the downhill side and bicycle lanes on the uphill side of these roads to eliminate conflicts with fixed objects and increase visibility of bicyclists. Bicycle lanes are one-way facilities where the bicycle traffic moves in the same direction as the Figure 8.5. Typical dimensions for designated bicycle lane. Source: OSHTA Guide for Development of Bicycle. A bicyclist hit by an opening car door may be injured or killed by the door or thrown into the adjacent travel lane to be injured or killed by another vehicle. Bike. Shared lane markings, SHAROs. The shared lane marking, or SHARO, was created to avoid the door zone hazard. A shared lane marking indicates that a road is open to motorized traffic and indicates it is a priority route for bicyclists despite having no designated bicycle lane. Typically SHAROs are implemented on 4 or 2 lane streets where the speed limit is 35 miles per hour or less, traffic volumes are higher, and are usually 4-lane collector or minor arterial streets. The use of share the road signage and roadway markings are useful to assist bicyclists in proper lane positioning, to alert motorists to the likely and legitimate presence of bicyclists and to encourage cooperation between motorists and bicyclists. Markings in the roadways delineate the recommended area of travel for bicyclists. Char roads should also be used adjacent to on-street parking. Markings should be located at every intersection and a minimum of every 250 feet and 5 feet from the inside edge of the parking lane, which will encourage bicyclists to ride outside the door zone, where they are in danger of being struck by opening car doors. Narrower lanes should also include a bicycles may use full lane sign, see figure 8.6 and figure 8.10. Buffered bike lanes, multi-lane streets that qualify for shared lane marking that have traffic volumes lower than 10,000 vehicles per day, BPD, are good candidates for a lane reduction. The buffered bike lane is a 7-foot bike lane with a 3-foot painted buffer adjacent to the travel lane, see figure 8.7. Cycle tracks defined by the National Association of City Transportation Officials, NACO, Urban Bikeway Design Guide. A cycle track is an exclusive bike facility that combines the user experience of a separated path with the on-street infrastructure of a conventional bike lane. Cycle tracks may be constructed in a variety of forms, including one-way protected tracks, two-way cycle tracks, or raised cycle tracks. Typically cycle tracks are painted with color to further differentiate the bicycle-only route from the roadway, see figure 8.8. Paved shoulders are clear and extra wide areas that accommodates bicyclists in low-traffic suburban, rural, or natural areas. Paved shoulders should be a minimum of 4 feet wide and a minimum of 5 feet wide if located adjacent to a guardrail or other barrier. Higher widths may be considered on roads with vehicle speeds above 50 miles per hour. However, designated bicycle lanes should also be considered on roads above 45 miles per hour, see figure 8.9. Bicycle-sensitive signals. Bicycle-sensitive signals allow a bike's-only phase-in signal timing to ensure the safety of bicyclists and provide added incentive and convenience for bicycle travel. Bicycle-sensitive signals are commonly used when bicycle lanes are located between the through and right-turning traffic lanes. The signal sensors must be well marked on the pavement with nearby posted signs indicating that X marks the proper spot for bicycles to trigger the traffic signals. Bicycle parking secure. Conveniently located bicycle parking at common destinations such as employment centers, stores, and schools to encourage bicycle use as an alternative mode of transportation. Parking garages, railroad, and bus stations, and other transit hubs are examples of locations that should have bicycle lockers available figure 8.6. Typical locations and marking of Char road source, OSHTO Guide for Development of Bicycle Facilities figure 8.7, Buffered Bike Lanes photo copyright JMouse figure 8.8, Two-way cycle track source, http://www. Parking garages, railroad, and bus stations, and other transit hubs are examples of locations that should have bicycle lockers available figure 8.6, typical locations and marking of Char road source, OSHTO Guide for Development of Bicycle Facilities figure 8.7, Buffered Bike Lanes photo copyright JMouse figure 8.8, Two-way cycle track source, http://www.seattle.gov/ figure 8.9, Paved shoulder source. The location of bicycle parking should also consider a sheltered rack as a minimum standard for commercial and retail development. 1. Bicycle parking space should be provided for every 4 motor vehicle spaces. Multifamily residential uses and public institutional uses, such as community schools, should provide 1 bicycle space per 3 vehicle spaces. The design and implementation of bicycle parking facilities should include the following characteristics. The minimum aisle width between each row of parked bicycles should be 48 inches. Wider aisles should be used to accommodate areas with heavy bicycle traffic. Effective bicycle racks should support the bicycle upright by its frame in 2 places. This allows for the bicycle to be secured in 2 places and prevents the bicycle from tipping over. The rack must be anchored and resistant to metal cutting tools to prevent vandalism. A locker box should provide a sturdy, secure, and weatherproof place to store a bicycle, helmets, equipment, and additional personal items. Short-term bicycle parking provides shoppers, customers, messengers, and other visitors who generally park for 2 hours or less a convenient and readily accessible place to park bicycles. Short-term bicycle parking can be as simple as a stationary object to which the cyclist can lock the frame and wheels. Short-term parking should be well distributed, visible. Source, OSHTO Guide for Development of Bicycle Facilities 91. Shared use paths, trails. A shared use path is a paved facility that is separate from vehicle travel lanes, though it may or may not be within the right-of-way of a road. These paths are designed for walking, jogging, bicycling, and other non-motorized uses. The design of shared use paths is highly flexible, and should respond to the level of activity, expected users, and soil characteristics, see figure 8.11. There are 2 general types of shared use paths, improved paths. These paths are generally off-road, paved, and are designed for a variety of non-motorized users. Unimproved paths. These paths are generally located in rural or natural areas, are seasonally wet, and are not paved. Often paths will be natural, or covered by a light surface of gravel or mulch. These paths may include some motorized users, such as ATMs. See monitoring unimproved shared use paths in the policy. Accessible crosswalks should be provided at all signalized intersections. Intersections and crossing areas with heavy traffic or wide crossing distances require timed pedestrian crossing. Angled crosswalks may be used to further enhance visibility between pedestrians and motorists. Angled crosswalks are bike boxes, see figure 8.12, are becoming popular treatments for their ability to improve the visibility of bicyclists at intersections and reduce bicycle and automobile crashes from right-hand turns. Typically bike boxes should be large enough to enclose up to 4 bicycles, are approximately 14 feet deep to accommodate the length of the bicycle, and extend at least the width of the travel lane. At yellow or red lights, automobiles stop before entering the bike box, and bicyclists in the box are located directly within the automobile's line of sight. At green lights, bicyclists proceed through the bike lane and do not enter the bike box. However, motorists who are unfamiliar with bike boxes tend to encroach into the bicyclist's area. Areas that use bike box treatment should invest in educational messages for bicyclists and motorists that illustrate safe practices in and around bike boxes. Leading pedestrian indicators. The beacon is activated by a pedestrian, which results in a yellow flashing warning light, indicating that motorists should prepare to stop, followed by 2 solid red lights. At the end of the cycle, the red lights alternately flash. Motorists must stop, but may proceed through the crosswalk if it is free of pedestrians. There is a slight learning curve regarding the light sequence for motorists and pedestrians, but studies demonstrate that hawk beacons are effectively at reducing both total crashes and pedestrian crashes. U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration. Safety effectiveness of the hawk pedestrian crossing treatment. Pedestrian beacons, see figure 8.14, are similar to hawk signals in that they are lighted signals intended to improve pedestrian safety at wide intersections or high-volume roadways. Pedestrian beacons are typically 2 horizontal amber flashing lights that may be activated while pedestrians are in the crosswalk. Like the hawk figure 8. Traffic calming treatments improve the safety and quality of pedestrian and bicyclist experiences by reducing vehicle speed or volume along the roadway. A wide range of treatments that vary in cost are available, including speed humps, raised walks at intersections, textured pavements, roundabouts, narrow lanes, or curb extensions, median barriers, landscaping, street trees, and on-street parking. Each treatment has advantages and disadvantages and should be selected based on the unique needs and opportunities for each project. On-street parking provides parking spaces within the thoroughfare right-of-way. It contributes to the street environment, helping to buffer pedestrian space from vehicular traffic. Spaces are distributed evenly along the street edge, helping maintain visual consistency and appeal in downtown areas. On-street parallel parking is preferred over angled parking on low-speed urban streets for bicyclist and pedestrian safety. Parallel parking provides more space for bicycle lanes and wider sidewalks and should be a minimum of 8 feet wide. Angled on-street parking width will vary based on the degree of the angle, but generally should be between 17 feet and 19 feet. Consideration for safe location of bicycle facilities near on-street parking is addressed under the bicycle lane and shared lane marking sections. Crosswalk striping. Typical crosswalk markings consist of 2 reflective white lines roughly perpendicular to the roadway that outline the crossing area, see figure 8.15. Other striping patterns may improve visibility of the crosswalk on higher volume or higher speed roadways. Continental, thick white stripes parallel to the roadway. Ladder, medium width stripes parallel to the roadway with 2 perpendicular stripes on either side of the crosswalk. Zebra, medium width wide stripes angled at 45 degrees to the roadway. May also include 2 perpendicular stripes. The manual on uniform traffic control devices requires all striping to be between 6 inches and 24 inches wide. The crosswalk striping pattern should be chosen with care. More visible patterns typically require wider painted areas, which may become slippery and become a potential hazard for youth or elderly pedestrians. Curb extensions, bulb outs. Curb extensions lower traffic speeds and provide protection for bicyclists and pedestrians from right-turning automotive traffic on streets with parallel or angled on-street parking, see figure 8.16. As a result, curb extensions are ideal for more compact areas, such as activity zones and transition zones. The sidewalk curb is extended at intersections the width of the adjacent parking area but does not impact the width of the travel lane or the location of a designated bicycle lane. Curb extensions slow traffic, especially right figure 8.15, typical, zebra, continental striping patterns. Source, manual on uniform traffic control devices. Figure 8.16, curb extensions protect pedestrians without narrowing travel lanes. Source, OSHDO guide for the development of bicycle, turning vehicles, and reduce blocks that are greater than 400 feet in length or 30 feet in activity zones may consider locating a mid-block crossing. Where such crossings are frequent, a special crosswalk between intersections, curb extensions, and overhead lighting may be appropriate. Such crossings should be designated with signage, flashing lights, and highly visible pavement markings, because motorists do not expect pedestrians at mid-block. One approach is to install a pedestrian-actuated stoplight at the crossing, so that all traffic stops. Warning signs should accompany both signalized and non-signalized crossings. Traffic calming measures should also be considered on travelways with mid-block crossings. Figure 8.17, medians at crosswalks. Medians act as pedestrian refuge islands and provide several safety benefits to pedestrians. Typically used at higher traffic intersections with wide travel lanes, medians create a shelter for pedestrians at the midway point of the crosswalk and reduce the pedestrian's exposure to traffic. Street trees, landscaping, lighting, and utilities may be included in medians so long as they do not impose on the safety of the roadway or impose side obstruction. Generally, medians with street trees should be a minimum of 6 feet wide. Medians can be raised to curb height, but should not be excessively wide as an alternative to narrowing the travel lane. They may contain a crosswalk cut-through or accessible ramp to protect the pedestrian from vehicular traffic. If landscaping is not possible, medians may also be constructed with identifiable pavement types, such as brick or colored concrete. 95. Signage. The size, height, location, and lateral clearance of signage are regulated by the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUC. Within MUC requirements there is considerable room to create personalized wayfinding signage that reflects local preference. Landscape design should provide a buffer between the pedestrian and bicyclist and high-traffic roadways or other adjacent uses that pose a safety risk. For example, a raised planter provides. Street trees may also be planted within curb extensions to emphasize the visual and physical width of the travel lane. Vegetation buffers should not. An ideal urban intersection. Figure 8.1897. Implementation. The mobility plan entails more than 200 new on-street bicycle, pedestrian, Figure 9.1 illustrates how the results of accessibility analysis, feedback from the steering committee, the vision plan, and the regionally significant features help to define priority projects for implementation. The implementation section of the plan provides 1. Prioritized list of potential projects. 2. List of planning level unit cost assumptions. 3. Outline of potential state and federal funding sources. Figure 9.1. Priority Corridor Method Project Prioritization Methodology. A project priority list will enable the Space Coast to allocate existing resources and be positioned for rapid response to future funding opportunities. The plan considers 4 critical elements in determining priority projects. 1. The vision is the area aligned with the long-term vision for regional access and connectivity. 2. Regionally significant features. Does the area support key existing and future regional features, such as access to public beaches, ecotourism trails, and proposed transit stations? 3. Bicycle and Pedestrian Steering Committee. Does the area respond to feedback provided by the committee throughout the planning process? 4. Accessibility analysis. Is the area supported by functional and recreational characteristics that suggest high potential for use? The result of the prioritization methodology, Figure 9.1, is a series of high-priority corridors that traverses the Space Coast from north to south and east to west, connecting high-activity areas and bridging the mainland to publicly accessible beaches. Priority corridors are illustrated in Figure 9.2. The priority corridors are intended extensions and enhancements to existing regional corridors. The method for selecting priority projects, Figure 9.3, is simple. Projects from the Mobility Plan project list that are located within a priority corridor are considered by this plan priorities for funding and implementation. Table 9.2 lists all priority projects by each project's associated corridor. Planning level cost assumptions. The plan assumes comparative costs for on-street facilities from construction estimates in similar areas of the state. Shared use path estimates were developed in coordination with trail advocates agencies, the East Coast Greenway Alliance and Rails to Trails. A summary of cost assumptions and sources is included in Table 9.1. Table 9.1. Planning level cost assumptions. Facility type unit cost, 2/per me, designated bike lane $10,560.002. Shared lane marking, on-street parking, $8,448.003. Shared lane marking, no on-street parking, $4,224.003. Bike may use full lane sign $1,800.002. Sidewalk, 5 width, $314,720.001. Paved shoulder, 5 width, $166,910.001. Off-road shared use path, 12 width, paved, $360,202.001,5. Off-road shared use path, granular stone, $80,000, $120,0005,6 East Coast Greenway sign $208.004. 1. FDOT D3 Preliminary Estimate Section Transportation Costs Annual Roadway Construction Cost, revised December 2011. CEI, normally 15% of the construction cost, is not included. 2. Unit costs for FDOT District 7 averages, July 2011 to June 2012. 3. Based on unit cost for marking from City of Winter Park, Florida project, Hammurabi. 4. Per pillar with East Coast Greenway Alliance. 5. Does not include cost of trail maintenance. 6. Rails to Trails Conservancy cost estimate. 7. Costs do not include ROW acquisition. 99. Priority corridors. Figure 9.2 ST. Johns River to Sea Loop Trail US 1 SR 520A1A SR 518. Priority. Asterisk B Muffalo equals bike mate, 215 beach SRA 1A1, 217 beach SRA 1A 500. Asterisk B Muffalo equals bike may use full lane priority project list. Table 9.170 Melbourne Pineapple Avenue 500 north of Park, 79 North Folsom Road / Broadway Street 20. Asterisk B Muffalo equals bike may use full lane, US 192 corridor map ID hash 111. Funding sources. Following the adoption of this master plan, the TPO will be in a better position to seek and procure funding for priority bicycle and pedestrian related projects in Brevard County. The following is a list of potential funding sources for consideration in pursuit of accomplishing. This program is administered on behalf of the Florida Commission on Tourism, in cooperation with the Governor's Office of Tourism, Trade, and Economic Development. Notices of the grants program are sent out by the second Friday in March. The total for all grants under this program shall not exceed $40,000 per year. Office of Greenways and Trails, the Recreational Office of Greenways and Trails, the Recreational Trails Program, RTP, the Recreational Trails Program. Applications must be submitted between March 15. Florida Recreation and Development Assistance Grant Program. The Florida Recreation and Development. These grants provide assistance in the purchasing of it. The Office of Greenways and Trails Recreational Trails Program. The match requirements, no. Bicycle transportation and pedestrian walkways must be associated with an NHS facility. Surface Transportation Program, STP. Eligibility, provides funding for programs and projects defined as transportation alternatives, including on and off-road pedestrian and bicycle. State dots and POs are not eligible entities as defined under 213, C, 4, B, and therefore are not eligible project sponsors for TAP funds. However, state dots and POs may partner with an eligible entity project sponsor to carry out a project. Implementation 108. Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvements, CMAQ, Program, Subset of STP, Funding Entity Administrator, FHWA website, http://www.fwa.d. Match requirements, CMAQ typical. Eligibility, 1% set aside of urbanized area formula grant funds designated for, 109. Considering the results of state, regional, or local transportation and highway safety planning processes, the program has 5 preliminary categories: housing, neighborhood revitalization, commercial revitalization, economic development. Under the slum and blight national objective, the area must, Appendix. Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization Bicycle and Pedestrian Mobility Plan Survey. Bicycle, Pedestrian and Trail Steering Committee meet. What kind of resources should be given priority in forming a complete network? Comment. Safe routes to schools, pedestrian and bicycle routes to schools. Comment. Space Coast. Comment. Comment. Space Coast, enforcement. Please rank the